तो जो अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स होते हैं ना, दे रियली नो हाउ टू इम्प्रूव देयर इनर गेम. देयर आर ऑलवेज टू टाइप्स ऑफ गेम्स दैट यू प्ले. आउटर गेम, इनर गेम. Inner game is where you work on your anxiety, you really work on imposter syndrome. Another thing, when I was finishing my engineering, that yes, you also need to work on lot of other skills which are needed.
What about the job? Did you get it from college placements?
No, it was no college placements. I remember I used to go Kormangla Sony World with 10 copies of my resume every day.
तो मान लो एक PM आता है, right, किसी कंपनी में. What should they do in the first 60 days to make an impact?
बाबा एक सिंपल फ्रेमवर्क बताता हूँ, राइट. आई लव फ्रेमवर्क्स, राइट. तो ये है 3 A's फ्रेमवर्क. आई यूज्ड टू स्टे इन द ऑफिस टिल 1 o'clock 2 o'clock just so I understand how this person is thinking from customer's point of view. Another thing is, as a product manager, your interpersonal skills are important. No matter how you are as a person, you have to work on your communication skills. You have to work on the skill where how easily or how fast you can break the ice. 20% of your features which 80% of your customers will always use. बाकी का जो 80% है लोग नहीं यूज करेंगे. इनफैक्ट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल ने एक सर्वे किया था इन 2003-2004 एंड दे आस्क्ड पीपल कि भाई माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल में क्या क्या फीचर चाहिए आपको. मोर देन हाफ ऑफ दोज सबमिशंस वर अबाउट फीचर्स व्हिच वर ऑलरेडी देयर इन माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल. प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट इज वेरी डाइसी, बट इफ यू वांट टू बिकम गुड प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, सो व्हाट यू शुड डू इज 3 things फ्रॉम माय साइड.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Making Sense on yet another episode where we bring in people with a lot of experience in their background. This time in product management for sure. We have Sushant joining us. Sushant, would you want to introduce yourself to them?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Sushant Mathur. I have overall 19 years of industry experience. For last 14 years, I'm working with Sabre Travel Technologies as head of products for hotels, car, rail, tour, cruise, and media.
Great. So thanks for coming in, Sushant. And, a lot of our audience is young who are either trying to, crack into product management or start to navigate their careers, right? Or even if they are in their early stages of their careers, right? They're still trying to find what is their niche, right? And if the position that they are is it something that they want to carry forward?
Sure.
So someone who's coming with experience of as much as you are, right? I for sure think that it will be really kind of beneficial for the audience, right? So a little background about how I approached Sushant was. So एक छोटी सी कहानी है. I was actually I had to leave my previous company, and उस time पे I was just messaging everyone out there for jobs. Sushant was the only one person who kind of said कि ठीक है, I will try my best in the company. And even then, after 5-6 days, he again reached out to me saying कि भाई there is no opening right now, or there is nothing vacant, but I will still try for sure. So that gave me कि भाई ये बंदा, he is a director of product somewhere, right? He might have tens of meetings a day, but still he has time to take out to a mere stranger to help them out in their journey, right? So a lot of patience, I've seen that you come from, right? And a lot of kindness as well.
That's true. And I think that's what, Shivam, kindness is quite underrated in today's time. That's what I feel. And I generally make sure that anybody who's reaching out to me, right? ठीक है, वो बंदा भी अपना कुछ तो मिनट लगा के he's sending me a message, right? I make sure that at least I'm acknowledging, because I think that's the thing, right? Maybe I'll not be able to help that person. Maybe I'll not be able to forward that person's profile because of whatever reasons, but I still respond and say, yes, thanks for reaching out. Let me try, let me see. So yes, I think that's something I expect everybody should do, because this is the least you can
you can do it,
yeah.
right? So I feel, you've become what you are today from a lot of experiences that you have. So I would want to just touch down on all of those experiences one by one.
Sure.
We'll move forward in all of your product experience, how you moved into product, right? What are the other roles you faced, and what are the day-to-day challenges you face as a director of product management? So why don't we start with your early days,
Sure.
जब आप एजुकेशन कर रहे थे, have you done your, like, are you a BTech or?
Yes. So just like thousands of us in India,
Thousands of us,
I did my BTech in computer science, and I'm talking about late 90s, early 2000s. Our only goal was engineering करनी है, and then computer science was new. In fact, I remember IT as a branch was introduced when I was about to get myself admitted in one of the engineering
IT मतलब वो
colleges.
CSE जो बोलते हैं अभी.
Yes, exactly, right? So even that branch was not there. It was very new, and people were always obsessed at that point in time. Mechanical, electrical, electronics, right? ये evergreen branches. There, computer science भी नया था because उस time पे कितनी companies थी, right? 99, 2000s में there were just very few companies in India.
.com bubble भी बस नहीं हुआ था.
Right, exactly, right? So, but उस time I was always passionate about computers. मुझे अभी भी याद है जब मैं 6th या 7th 8th में था, उस टाइम एपटेक सेंटर्स होते थे इंडिया में, जहाँ पे लोग जाते थे, दे यूज्ड टू लर्न कंप्यूटर्स. मैं भी गया एक बार.
अच्छा, आप गए उधर?
मैं भी गया हूँ ऐसे, जस्ट छोटा था, मैं चला गया ऐसे ही बिकॉज एक एपटेक सेंटर था घर के पास. मैं वहाँ पे गया एंड दे वर टीचिंग अस पता नहीं बेसिक्स एंड वर्ड स्टार कुछ ऐसा बोलते थे, बैठ के बस टाइप करो एंड देन सी. एंड आई स्टिल रिमेंबर मैं घर आके मैं इतना एक्साइटेड था, और घर आके मैंने अपने पेरेंट्स को बोला कि पता है कंप्यूटर में क्या होता है, अगर आप कुछ करते हो एंड देन इफ यू डोंट सेव इट विल टेल यू दैट हे आर यू रियली श्योर यू वांट टू सेव इट. सो आई वाज सो पैशनेट. Imagine tier 2 city, I was in 6th grade, but computer was something I was really fascinated. So I decided that okay, no matter what, I won't go with these fancy branches. Computer science is what I'll do.
Something. I want to touch down on that special. ये पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ, is extremely like hit my nostalgia वो वाला. मैं भी जाता था वो जो सेंटर होता है वहाँ पे टाइपिंग सिखाते हैं, MS पेंट सिखाते हैं.
Exactly.
है ना, और उसमें सब लोग अपना क्या बोलते हैं गाना चालू कर देते आतिफ असलम का और गेम खेलते रहते कार वाली.
Exactly.
So that's what you like, all of those experiences that how computers are performing the way they are, that made you
exactly. And then
was it a risky decision back then?
पता ही नहीं था, right? We did not know, right? We thought okay, engineering करना है, and then we decided computer science, and then we just kind of went with the flow. But then yes, in computer science the biggest challenge I faced, right? Because computer science branch तो introduce हो गया था, but that curriculum was still very outdated. They were only teaching us C, not even C++. तो मेरी पूरी computer science में in 4 years I learned C, which is fine, right? Okay, obviously the fundamental language is C, but I only learned C. And then I got this culture shock. When we were in our 3rd year, 4th year engineering, we started participating in a lot of these inter-college competitions. Hackathons वगैरह ये सब. And एक बार हम लोग IIT Delhi गए, and then suddenly we noticed that वहाँ तो robotics चल रहा है, right? And then we realized, oh, okay, we have to do really something different, something new. So then on my own, I started learning JavaScript. JavaScript भी काफ़ी उस टाइम नया था, and then we used to have all these CSS and other things. So उसका काफ़ी मैं मास्टर बन गया, and I just learned on my own JavaScript. पूरा जितना बुक होता था JavaScript का, I used to go through each and every page. JavaScript for dummies and वो सब, right? तो I learned JavaScript, and I was really passionate about website designing, some pieces
how it
of
works and everything.
हाँ, W3 schools का बहुत बड़ा फैन था मैं. तो वो सब करके then I learned all of this, and then I realized another thing when I was finishing my engineering, that yes, you also need to work on lot of other skills which are needed, क्योंकि तब campus placement start हो गए थे. And then in India nobody teaches you soft skills, at least तब ऐसा नहीं होता था, right? Maybe now
ऐसा नहीं है, you can rest assured.
हाँ, so तब soft skills and all ये सब नहीं पता था. Then we started learning on our own. पर हाँ, overall whatever I learned in my engineering, पता नहीं उसका 1% भी अभी तक अप्लाई किया नहीं है. But I think that's how it is.
Makes sense. So, and then did you go for a job या फिर आप?
Yes, obviously engineering खत्म किया in 2004. उसके बाद में क्या करना है समझ में नहीं आया, तो बैंगलोर आ गया, राइट? उस टाइम पे ऐसे ही था. बैंगलोर आए, एंड देन
तो बैंगलोर वाज द हब फॉर यू.
द हब, यस, ऑब्वियसली.
अभी तो ऑप्शंस बहुत हो गए, पुणे है,
एग्जैक्टली राइट. उस टाइम पे इतना था भी नहीं, एंड देन यहाँ पे कपल ऑफ आवर सीनियर्स वर हियर ऑलरेडी, तो सोचा कि
एंड हाउ वाज बैंगलोर बैक देन?
ओह, वेरी डिफरेंट. कोरमंगला दैट यू सी नाउ, और जब मैं वहाँ रहता था कोरमंगला में in 2004 and 5, it was complete different.
Different as in मतलब सुंदर था.
It was residential area. कोरमंगला was fully residential. कहीं भी जाओगे trees and gardens, parks, ये सब ऐसा था. And then now if I go and see that Sony World Junction, is completely different. उस टाइम बैंगलोर बहुत अच्छा था, वेरी काम, पीसफुल, क्वाइट, और ये सब एरियाज तो थे ही नहीं. HSR तो उस टाइम पे कुछ था ही नहीं, राइट. द एंटायर आउटर रिंग रोड, आई रिमेंबर, देयर वाज लिटरली नथिंग. दैट माराथली ORR स्ट्रेच, नथिंग. तो बस हम लोग बैंगलोर आए, एंड देन आई वाज लकी that I was able to crack my first interview. And my first interview was like, again, tell me about yourself. They asked me about some technical stuff, and I was lucky that they shortlisted me, selected me.
And then you went for a job, as you mentioned, right? तो आप बोल रहे थे कि so how was it? तो Bangalore तो अच्छा experience आपने बताया कि the Bangalore was totally different back then. What about the job? Did you get it from college placements?
No, it was no college placements. I remember I used to go. Remember Kormangla Sony World with 10 copies of my resume every day.
Oh.
And then I used to go to different companies कि भाई I have done this in web designing. I have this much experience in JavaScript.
उस टाइम ऐसा होता था.
उस टाइम ऐसा होता था.
जाके अपने resume
वो भी मैं करता था, right? And sometimes those companies were also like, boss, हमारे यहाँ कुछ opening ही नहीं है, but I still used to try. वो सब किया, बहुत किया, but then I was lucky. One of my friends, one of his friends, he used to work for a company. वहाँ पे कुछ opening थी, and वहाँ पे गए, and then my professional journey started.
Amazing. And you started as a? Yeah,
so again, started as software developer. और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है, मैं सुनाता हूँ. तो क्या हुआ, द फर्स्ट डे आई went and my manager came and he said कि hey, ये डॉक्यूमेंट है, just go through it. मैंने बोला क्या है? It was कि BRD. मैंने बोला BRD क्या होता है? Again मैंने बोला दूसरा कल्चर शॉक, राइट. I did not know BRD क्या होता है, क्या रिक्वायरमेंट डॉक्यूमेंट. But then yes, okay, I started going through the BRD. It was like 40-50 pages BRD with lot of requirements, screenshots, what's up. And then I suddenly noticed one thing. I was going through it and was like, who is this person who was writing this BRD? Yeah, who has written this BRD, 50-60 pages. And now all of us on this floor, 60 of us or 70 of us, we are going to work on this. तो इसको कैसे पता है कि क्या करना है हमको? So that was my first experience with, now you can say, product management. We used to call it business analysis, right? Way back then. So then I started understanding more, okay, what exactly this person is doing. Okay, he's writing requirement. And then I used to work very closely with that person because I wanted to understand what exactly this business analysis is all about. So उसके साथ बहुत काम करता था, and that person was based in our headquarters. So मैं late evening calls कर रहा हूँ. I was like
headquarters मतलब
बाहर, right? So that India के बाहर, Florida. So Florida was our headquarter, and I used to stay in the office till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, just so I understand how this person is thinking from customer's point of view. And that product was very complex, finance, mortgage, banking. So I spent quite a lot of time with him. Then I realized, okay, जैसे कॉलेज में सीखते थे बुक से, now I have to learn this business analysis. And remember that point in time, no YouTube,
yeah,
right? No tutorials, no all these websites जहाँ पे you can go, you can sign up 30 days, you can learn everything. I literally used to take those spiral bindings, printouts of business analysis, body of knowledge, business analysis का जितना book था, UML, root cause analysis, and I used to read all those books on the way to office every day, so that at least I can learn and I can just understand the business analysis, what it is. So that's how it started. So that was my kind of first interaction with this field of customer interaction, requirement management, and वहाँ से फिर थोड़ा start हुआ product management के बारे में.
अच्छा. So ये जॉब के बाद आपने सीधा you went into product.
हाँ, फिर क्या हुआ? Very interesting story. 2005 there was a startup. उस टाइम स्टार्टअप को भी स्टार्टअप नहीं बोलते थे, राइट? उस टाइम था एक छोटी कंपनी है, नई कंपनी है, राइट? तो सो दे were looking to grow in India. That company was based in California, Orange County, and they wanted to have few folks here in India. And they were like, we don't care if you are not product manager, business analyst, as long as you want to become business analyst and you have some technical acumen, they were fine with it. And same mortgage domain. So वो एक मेरे साथ plus point था कि I already knew mortgage banking.
अच्छा.
And then technical experience था ही software development का. And then I thought, okay, let me just go and interview. तो वहाँ पे मैं गया, and then again they liked me, they selected me, I was there, and वो जो experience था, I think that was probably kind of the biggest in terms of my learning and growth. स्टार्टअप में क्या होता है ना, 2005 में तो उतना भी ऐसा ऑर्गेनाइज नहीं था कि यू हैव डिफरेंट वर्टिकल्स, डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स, सब कुछ ही करना है आपको. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर आई वॉज बिजनेस एनालिस्ट बट आई ऑल्सो यूज टू कोड बिकॉज आई वॉन्टेड टू ऑटोमेट सर्टेन थिंग्स. तो वो सब मैंने किया एंड देन आई वॉज ऑन साइट फॉर फ्यू मंथ्स. वहाँ पे जाके इंटरेक्शन होना, वहाँ पे जाके कस्टमर से मिलना, अगेन न्यू थिंग, राइट. आई वॉज लाइक 23-24 years old, right? And I was there on site. तो वो experience बहुत अच्छा था because you only learn as a product manager when you talk to your customers face to face. So I used to go to these customers, banks, different branches just to interact with them, and that was the big deal for me. 25-year-old, you are going and meeting customers. I think that itself was great experience.
Amazing. So, I mean, taking a step back again, you mentioned, so you got exposed to a requirement document. You started getting curious about who is producing that, what goes into analyzing that, what goes into making that. And then you went into a startup to even try your hypotheses that I can do this or not. Right? And then you successfully, I think, you thought this is the career path, right, for me.
Yeah.
So you did a lot of iterations, right, to understand,
yes.
right? I mean, so today what happens is so product management is something that you figured out while in your career, right? No one came and told you,
yes,
right? कि भाई, you know, कि product management है, इसमें इतने पैसे मिलते हैं, ये काम होता है, तुम इसके लिए और इसके लिए ऐसे प्रेप करते हैं. अभी तो सब टेम्पलेटाइज हो गया, right? कि you know, there are courses being sold which tell you what a DOP does, what a senior PM does, what everything. सबका role distribute हो गया है, right? So I think a lot of people today have that playbook to start with, right? And I think you went through much more struggle into actually reading your hypothesis, trying your hypothesis, if this is where you want to be in or not, and navigating through that. What do you think is missing in today's generation, even having these playbook, that we are not even able to produce as much quality product managers today?
Sure. Great question, Shivam. So I totally agree. Now you can go and you can get everything. But if you see, product management is very different than other traditional jobs. Okay, and I'll explain why. Because if I'm a coder, right, I can probably write the best piece of code which is highly optimized, and it will work, right? It will do what it is supposed to do. Great there, right? But product management is very dicey. You have to build something which you don't even know whether customers want, or let's say even if they want, whether they'll use it, even if they use it, whether they'll pay for it. So there are so many unknowns here in product management in general, like other things as well. But product management is very dicey if you just see.
You have to play with a lot of ambiguity.
Exactly. And now there are three things which I feel are very important for product managers. So it's good that you have all these courses available. It's good that you have all those templates which you can use. But if you want to become, let's say, a good product manager, or if you are
trying to level up.
So what you should do is three things from my side. So one is, obviously, you have to have that explorer's mindset.
3 E's.
3 E's, yeah. So number one, letter E. So number one, E is you have to have an explorer's mindset. So what I mean by it, that you have to stay curious. So sometimes you have everything in front of you, but that's not product management is all about. You need to be curious. You need to understand why. Even if you have received very clear requirement from one of your customers, you have to understand why. ऐसा क्या है कि उसको ये solution चाहिए? What exactly that person is trying to solve? If you just take it as is, then you are not really doing justice to your role. First E is have that explorer's mindset. एक example भी देता हूँ explorer mindset में क्या मतलब है, right? Think about our last 3 planets in our solar system. Okay, and you'll be surprised to know, in case you are not aware of it, that these last 3 planets were discovered by people who were not your typical scientists.
Okay.
One of them was a farmer. One of them was a mathematician. Another one was a musician. So imagine, you have to be curious. If you are curious, if these people, they can find planets as a product manager, or if you are aspiring product manager, you can definitely have this curiosity built within your system so that you can challenge. You can try to understand other person's aspect. So that is my first E. Okay, so second E is empathy. One of the most commonly used word. Okay. Everybody says empathy. कैसे डेवलप करना है empathy, right? कैसे empathize करना है? There is no cookie cutter approach कि ये करोगे then you'll empathize. So empathy takes time, right? Certain people, they already have this empathy built within, right? But otherwise you have to develop it. You can't just go और customer के पास जाके कि oh I understand your pain. ऐसे नहीं होता है, right? You have to really empathize by understanding other person's emotions. You have to be very expert in terms of getting those verbal and non-verbal cues to see ये बोला पर ये क्यों बोला. Okay, is this pain really big enough कि हमको उसको solve भी करना है, right? There is a theory, right, that painkiller versus vitamins. Yeah. If you just try to build vitamins, nobody is going to pay for it. You have to build painkillers. वो तभी बनाएगा जब you are very clear in terms of what exactly that pain is. ओके, इसका भी एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया था. तो एट डिज्नीलैंड, इफ यू गो, किड्स विल बाय बैलून्स, राइट, मिकी माउस बैलून ये सब लेके, बट किड्स लव इट, बट यू आर नॉट अलाउड टू टेक दीज बैलून्स इनटू द एरिया जहाँ पे एनिमल्स हैं, obviously because of different reasons. Now imagine a 5-year-old kid, उसको मैं बोल रहा हूँ ओ बैलून लेके तुम वहाँ पे नहीं जा सकते हो. Obviously that kid will be very disappointing. But what they do is, once these kids are back and they go to that place where they have to collect their balloons, they get a report card which says balloons ने क्या किया 30 minutes में, balloons थोड़ी देर ये किया, balloons were playing, they were taking nap, so on and so forth, right? See, this is very simple example, but imagine a kid who was disappointed that somebody took his or her balloons. Now receiving those balloons with a report card, now suddenly you see that joy on their face. Yeah. That's what empathy is all about. You have to show empathy in your actions. Okay. So now third, last E, right? So that last E is execution. Great. You are very clear in terms of how are you going to solve a problem. You have done your homework. But then challenge is if you can't execute, it's of no use. Yeah. You have to become expert. You have to become master in execution. And execution का मतलब ये भी नहीं कि you always think about building something very big, right? You can start small, but you have to move fast. You have to execute, showcase whatever you have learned. You have to showcase that, okay, this is what I know so far and this is how I'm going to deliver it. Correct. Okay. Again, another problem is when you think about execution, it's not just that you have to build something which will solve everything. वो भी possible नहीं है. Right? So you have to start small. उसके लिए भी एक स्टोरी है, सुनाता हूँ. So in Paris, they had this World Expo, and Eiffel Tower was launched in one of the trade expos. People attended that World Trade Fair just to see the Eiffel Tower, the tallest structure in the world at that point in time. Event was hugely successful. People loved it. 4 साल बाद में same trade expo हुआ in New York. And organizers were like, अब क्या बनाएंगे? Because Eiffel Tower बन गया, and they were like, how will we exceed the expectations? बहुत brainstorming हुआ. किसी ने बोला Eiffel Tower से बड़ी बिल्डिंग बनाते हैं, किसी ने कुछ बोला, but there were a couple of engineers, and they were from this railway domain, railway industry. Few of them, they came up with this idea. They said, okay, let us build something. They use simple steel structure. And they use those railway wagons or railway cars. And they built world's first Ferris wheel or giant wheel, right? Wherever you go now, you see that giant wheel. Correct. They launched world's first Ferris wheel in that trade expo. Cost was almost 1/10 of the Eiffel Tower. But experience was almost 10 times. एड्रेनलिन रश है ना उसमें, जायंट व्हील में. एफिल टावर को देख के एड्रेनलिन रश नहीं आएगा ना, यू जस्ट एडमायर, फोटो खींच लोगे चले जाओगे. बट सी, सो एग्जीक्यूशन इज अबाउट, हर मेले में लगता है, राइट, हर मेले में लगता है. पीपल वर सो शॉक्ड एंड सरप्राइज्ड. पीपल वर कमिंग एवरी डे just to see and just to be part of that experience. So that's what execution is all about. So 3 E's याद रखना है. You have to be very smart in terms of how will you explore something. Second is you have to build empathy, and third is execution. Execute and execute.
Amazing. That covers a lot of other aspects that I wanted to cover later as well. So this is about how someone who's trying to navigate in their product journey, how their attitude in general should be, so that they can either level up or start in their product career, which is fine. But on the contrary, a lot of people, think about what are the different challenges anyways a product manager solves. Still, people do not know potentially कि एक तो आपने basic building blocks बता दिए, right? कि explore, empathize, and execute, right? But I think these are basic qualities that a product manager should have, but people are not aware about what challenges person face while being in the career of product management, right? Be it going from PM to SPM to GPM to whatsoever, right? DOP, CPO. Can you tell some of your specific real life challenges that you have faced, which people are not usually aware of in product management?
Yeah, sure. So again, product management में क्या होता है, challenges differ based on industry, based on domain, whether you are in B2B, whether you are in B2C, or whether you are in B2B2C. तो उसके basis पे your challenges always differ, but again, core remains the same.
What is a B2B2C?
So for example, let's say you have large enterprises using your services, let's say your APIs. You have SaaS-based offering. Enterprise customers, they use your APIs and they have their own online booking tool, or they have their own portals. Right, so something of that.
जैसे आजकल ये integrations out of the box ship करने वाली companies आ गई.
Absolutely. तो वही चीज़ है. जैसे ये Make My Trip, right? Make My Trip क्या करता है? Make My Trip gets data from 10 different airlines, and then they have their own portal. So if I am Indigo, Make My Trip is like a customer to me. And Make My Trip, they have their own set of customers who go to their .com.
Correct.
So that's that kind of model. So challenges क्या आते हैं? Let's say imagine if I am in B2B space. Okay. So as a product manager, सबसे बड़ा problem मेरे लिए ये होता है कि I don't get a chance to talk to my actual users. Right? When you talk about B2B, you're talking about large enterprises.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of customers, but they don't give you time. Right? B2C का concept B2B में नहीं चलता है.
Correct.
And unfortunately, problem ये है कि most of the frameworks, any book, any website you pick, they just talk about frameworks which can work very well in B2C, but not in B2B. For example, if I have large enterprise, they are going to sign 10-year multi-million-dollar kind of contract with my company. Abhi, how will I understand requirements from them? Because they will have thousands of users. So first, the biggest challenge for me is understanding requirements, because I won't really get exact requirement from the actual user. तो वहाँ पे क्या होता है? You have to always in B2B go with your initial hypothesis and make sure you get those hypotheses validated.
Correct.
Nobody will have time to tell you कि ये requirement है, वो requirement है. You have to do your primary research. You have to do your secondary research. So that's number one. Number two is you can't really ship MVP to your biggest enterprise customer. जहाँ पे आधी चीज़ें चल रही हैं, आधी चीज़ें नहीं चल रही हैं. Right? You have to be very smart. Yes, you can build MVPs in B2B, but you have to be very smart. मैंने MVP बना दिया and then उनका flow रुक गया and then they are losing $1 billion. Who will be responsible?
Correct.
So second is, yes, you can implement this incremental, build, measure, learn, but you have to be very clear that it's not affecting their core workflow. That's number two, and that's the biggest challenge that, okay, I want to try something new, but how will I launch it? How will I ship it? So that's the second challenge. And third is, and मैं वो भी बताऊंगा कि इसमें हम कैसे deal करना चाहिए. And third is, how will you prioritize? I have 10 big customers, right? 10 large enterprises. सबका अलग अलग requirement है, सबका अलग अलग priority है. Then how will you decide which should be my 1, 2 and 3?
Correct.
So कैसे करते हैं? For example, first is, how will you build your initial hypothesis? You have to do a lot of secondary research in B2B. Because primary research तो नहीं होगा, right? You can't get access to the tools that your competitors are offering in enterprise. You have to do secondary research. अब secondary research क्या होती है? Go and attend these conferences, sessions. Talk to people who are either they are either part of sales team or they are part of customer support, because these folks can give you some ideas, some tips in terms of what your competitor is offering. And sometimes your customers can also tell you कि hey, I am getting these 3 features or functionalities from your competitors, but you don't seem to have it.
Correct.
So secondary research बहुत important है, and that's why you need to have some domain expertise. So that's number one, right? So if you really want to understand your customer's pain point in enterprise B2B, you have to do your secondary research. You have to do it very well. You need to understand that domain in and out. In B2C में उतना domain का जरूरत नहीं है, because you can go and you can directly talk to customers. I'll give you 500 rupees Starbucks का voucher, and as a customer you will tell me your pain points, you'll give me your feedback. B2B में वैसा नहीं होता है. Second is, how will you prioritize? Now, prioritization is the biggest challenge. Most of the companies, they follow whoever shouts the most, they'll just prioritize that feature in enterprise. But that's not really sustainable way of prioritizing. What we do is, we have our own customer advisory board, which is nothing but we have different cohort, different set of customers. They come and then we meet with them every 3 months and we say, hey, this is what we think we should build in the next quarter. Now, this customer advisory board, there are different types of customer, some large, some small, some mid-level. They are serving different regions. They have their own customer base, which is slightly different. Now, what you get it, using customer advisory board, you will get very diverse kind of feedback. Then you can use this diverse feedback to decide what is the right thing that you should build for your product.
Correct.
So having customer advisory board is very important. And third is, I also talked about MVP. अब MVP तो आप ऐसा नहीं बना सकते हो, कुछ भी ship कर दिया and then you are expecting. What you should do there is, you have to identify some pilot customers. And you need to roll out whatever you are trying to build new specifically for those customers. And sometimes these customers are either they are fine with something which is not 100% perfect, or they are also like innovators. Like the typical innovation curve में क्या होता है, you always have to find out innovators who will be fine with anything as long as they see some future value in it. So वो find out करना होता है. तो कुछ customer होंगे, they'll be fine. So you have to work very closely with them, identify them as a pilot customer, build that relationship, meet with them every week, keep them updated, and that's how you can build your MVP or your next solution.
Correct. I also belong to the B2B segment of the product management side. I have been doing product management B2B segment since past 4 years specifically. So I completely relate with whatever that you mentioned in terms of prioritization, doing secondary research, because you do not really know what your competitors look like. So as a as a director of product management, where you have junior PMs working with you on potentially one or more problem statements or even the same statements. Like, and your industry, like you mentioned, the B2B travel tech industry, right? ये आपके कोई specific role के challenges होते हैं?
Sure. As a director, if I'm managing a team, बहुत challenges होते हैं, right? See, problem ये है कि अगर मैं इंडिविजुअल प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर हूँ, आई नो आई हैव टू वर्क ऑन दिस प्रोडक्ट और आई हैव टू वर्क ऑन दिस फीचर और दिस मॉड्यूल, और वो मैं पूरा समझ के इन एंड आउट आई विल जस्ट डिलीवर इट, राइट? बट लेट्स से इफ यू आर अ डायरेक्टर ऑफ अ प्रोडक्ट, राइट, you have several product managers, suddenly your area of concern is big and big and big. Now what you need to do is, as a director of product, you also need to make sure that you know everything, but you cannot know everything. So that's the biggest challenge. Second challenge is, you also need to work a lot on strategic aspect of your product. For example, I'm not really too worried about, let's say, that requirement or that piece of functionality, because I know my team or product manager in my team has everything. So he'll handle it, he'll manage it. But once that feature is ready, how are we going to roll it out? How are we going to market it? How are we going to price it, let's say? So those are several aspects where I am more involved. I work very closely with my marketing team that, hey, that's how we should launch this specific feature, and that's how we should message it, that's how we should position it. Then I have to work with our pricing council. In enterprise B2B is very tough. You have customers who are already paying you a lot of money.
Correct.
And now you are saying, hey, I'll give you something else, but uske liye bhi aapko thoda extra dena padega. How will you justify that cost? So that's second thing.
So there is a lot of negotiation going as well.
Yes. And then you have to influence your leadership. You have to influence your leadership that, hey, this is what I feel is the right thing to do for my product or my product portfolio in next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You have to get the input. So yes, क्या होता है?
So a lot of influencing is involved in your role.
Without influencing your stakeholders, you have to influence your team also. Let's say मेरी टीम में 5 प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर हैं, सडनली आई से कि hey, the feature that you were working on, थोड़ा उसको deprioritize करते हैं. Now how will you manage it? You have to give proper justification to that person who has been working on this feature for last, let's say, 6 months.
Correct.
बेचारा दिन रात काम कर रहा है, suddenly you are saying कि अरे इसको अभी नहीं करेंगे prioritize.
For influencing, you need the in and out visibility of the company, right?
Yes.
So, मतलब, what I feel is कि you can only influence people when you have data, right? To back that, as you were saying, कि example देना पड़ता है. You know, have to justify that statement. So, do you get the visibility of the whole company? कि sales team में क्या चल रहा है, customer success team में क्या चल रहा है?
Again, great point. वो आपको निकालना पड़ता है, right? So sometimes क्या होता है कि you will get data, but data without any background or without any story is of no use.
Correct.
Right? So what you need to do is, for example, we do a lot of these voice of the customer kind of sessions. जहाँ पे we have different folks from different teams coming together and just sharing thoughts कि hey, मैंने ये सुना है, मैंने वो सुना है, this is what I heard this customer complaining. उससे क्या होता है, suddenly now you are hearing lot of things about कि ये चीज़ों में थोड़ा pain points हैं.
तो what do you do? मतलब आप इसका क्या आप like cadence schedule करते हो लोगों के साथ, या फिर वो लोग आके आपको बताते हैं कि हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि इस बंदे को पता चले?
नहीं, आई थिंक cadence होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. नहीं तो क्या होगा, इतने लोग आके आपको मैसेज करेंगे कि यू विल बी लॉस्ट. सो व्हाट वी डू इज वी हैव दीज रेगुलर कस्टमर कॉल्स. अगर कुछ इशू है देन ऑब्वियसली यू विल टॉक एंड यू विल एक्ट ऑन इट, बट वॉइस ऑफ द कस्टमर काइंड ऑफ कॉल्स विल हेल्प यू टू ऑल्सो विजुअलाइज योर फ्यूचर, योर प्रोडक्ट्स फ्यूचर, कि ओके वहाँ पे ट्रेंड जा रहा है, this is what my sales is hearing, this is what I think customers are complaining the most, maybe let's focus on that specific area. तो उससे क्या होता है, you get input which you can use to prioritize your roadmap. वो एक चीज़ हो गया. दूसरा चीज़ क्या होता है कि let's say you have lot of things sometimes which are not in your control. See, I can't control market, I can't control economics, I can't control several things which are not in my influence. अभी मैं क्या करूँगा, right? Suddenly there is a competitor who has superior product.
Correct.
Now you have to decide as a product leader that how will you pivot if you need to, or how will you change the way you have been offering your product, or do you need to think about something new completely? तो वो सब करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Otherwise you will be stuck and you will make progress, but progress will be very small, very incremental, but something which you cannot justify after a point.
Correct. So those were like, I mean, a lot of challenges come in as in when you go into a role. Always मेरे दिमाग में एक बहुत interesting question रहा है, right? And I feel you are the best person to ask who is managing a lot of product managers. तो मान लो एक PM आता है, right, किसी कंपनी में. According to you, what should they do in the first 60 days to, you know, make an impact?
Sure.
पहले 60 दिन वो आया, जिस दिन पहले दिन क्या करना चाहिए, दूसरे दिन you can break it down in weeks, you can break it down.
मैं एक सिंपल फ्रेमवर्क बताता हूँ, राइट? आई लव फ्रेमवर्क्स, राइट? तो जैसे मैंने पहले 3 E's बताया था, ये है 3 A's. ओके, 3 A's फ्रेमवर्क. क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, व्हेन यू आर न्यू ऑब्वियसली यू नीड टू लुक एट सेवरल डिफरेंट थिंग्स. एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर यू ऑल्सो नीड टू बिल्ड रेपो विद योर peers, your colleagues, different teams, different orgs. But I think a simple framework जो use कर सकते हैं is 3 A's. One is you have to ask. Okay, so that is your first A. Ask means you have to ask right questions. You have to ask clarifying questions to understand the lay of the land. उसके बिना you cannot be successful, right? So that's first thing. You have to ask lot of questions so that you understand कि चल क्या रहा है, and then this is what I am supposed to know. वो हो गया first A. Second A is you need to act. अभी act कैसे करोगे, right? You are already new, but what you can do is whatever you are learning, can you document it? Can you summarize it? Can you present it to maybe let's say your manager, your superior, your colleagues that hey, this is what I have learned. Am I on the right track? क्योंकि जब तक आप कुछ लिखोगे नहीं एंड प्रेजेंट नहीं करोगे, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि then you won't be really 100% comfortable in it.
Got it.
So that's number 2, right? Irrespective of domain, irrespective of whatever industry you are in. पहला, you have to ask the right question. Second is you need to act on everything that you have collected. Third is also be prepared to answer. Okay, what do I mean by that is you have done something, now be prepared that people will ask you follow-up questions. उसके लिए you need to do your research.
Right.
उसके लिए you need to do some competitive analysis on your own. YouTube पे जाओ, Reddit पे जाओ, you'll find so many details which you can use. Okay, and then once you are fully ready with all these three things, I'm sure you'll at least know the basics. उसके बाद में it all depends on your appetite, your expertise, your learning acumen, but these three things are really important.
Got it. तो still मान लो पहले उसको 7 दिन में क्या करना चाहिए, दूसरे 7 दिन में क्या करना चाहिए.
Okay. तो
मतलब बेसिकली एक बंदा है कंपनी में, उसको बस अपना इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट करना है कि भाई आई बिकम द स्टार प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर इन 60 days.
Sure. 60 days में तो नहीं होता है, बहुत मुश्किल है स्टार बनना.
30 days का क्वेश्चन था मेरा.
Sure. पर सी क्या करना चाहिए, फर्स्ट 7 days जैसे मैंने बोला, just observe and try to understand.
Anything specific to observe?
And yes, so for example, let's say if you are part of digital tech company, right? There'll be so many stand-ups happening. Just go and be part of those stand-up meetings. Context नहीं भी है तब भी, at least be part of it, because क्या होगा ना, then you'll start learning the language of that company, right? Every company has certain specific language. At least you have to be very comfortable with different acronym, different phrases, the working style. So पहले 7 days तो क्या करो, be 100% focused, committed, time by नहीं सोचना है कि वो लेट हो रहा है, जल्दी हो रहा है. Be part of each and every possible ceremonies in your company. First 7 days, right? उसके बाद में next 15 days, you should then start making sure that you know what's going on. First 7 days तो चलता है, right? Nobody will ask you anything, but after that you also need to show कि भाई ठीक है, I'm also learning. Try to go to your wiki sites. Try to go to all your internal portals. Best is go to your .com and try to see क्या क्या product launch किए in last 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. For each of those specific products, there must be some article, some blog, some marketing material. उसको पढ़ के at least try to understand कि पूरा ecosystem क्या है. So first 7 days you understood the language, the terms and phrases. उसके बाद में next 14-15 days you are trying to understand company में क्या क्या है. क्योंकि क्या होता है ना, when they hire you for a specific role. पर in my opinion, टेक्निकल एक्यूमेन, प्रोडक्ट एक्यूमेन बहुत ज़रूरी है, पर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्यूमेन भी उतना ही ज़रूरी है. यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि मेरी कंपनी का पर्पस क्या है और वो पर्पस क्यों है, राइट? वो विजन क्या है, कैसे ड्राइव हुआ वो विजन. यू हैव टू बी वेरी क्लियर इन इट. तो वो चीज़ हो गया. सो नेक्स्ट 15 days ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड बाय गोइंग टू योर कंपनीज .com, रीड आर्टिकल्स, रीड ब्लॉग्स, गो थ्रू ऑल योर रिसेंट प्रोडक्ट लॉन्चेस. उसके बाद में लेट्स से आफ्टर 30 days, so 30 to 45 days is when you need to start asking your manager, hey, what do you think is going to be my area of focus? Am I going to work on a specific project, specific feature, specific module? फिर वहाँ से, so suddenly from a broad area, now you are going
start funneling inside.
Yes, start funneling inside, and then you have to focus and you have to make sure कि you are getting all your inputs. और सबसे important चीज़ क्या है ना, 30-40 days में you also need to start building repo. जैसे मैं पहले बोल रहा था, right? As a product manager, if you don't build repo, you won't be able to get your work done.
ये तो बात सही है, लेकिन इट्स इवन हार्ड टू बिल्ड अ रेपो एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, क्योंकि कोई इज्जत करता नहीं है सच. क्योंकि आई पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस, एवरी अदर कंपनीज आई वेंट टू, राइट, everyone thinks that they are better than you, right?
Yes.
If you go to the designer, he will tell you, don't know, ऐसे ही चल रहा है कंपनी में, यही चीज है, तुम चेंजेस मत बताओ. ठीक है. डेवलपर से जाओगे तो उसको तो भाई तुमको कोडिंग नहीं आती, तुम मत अपना नो ओपिनियन फॉर यू, राइट? तुम सेल्स वाले के पास जाओगे, भाई तुम कस्टमर कॉल्स में बैठे नहीं हो, तुम शांत रहो, राइट? सो नो वन रियली रिस्पेक्ट्स फ्रॉम वेयर यू आर कमिंग, व्हाट इज योर थॉट प्रोसेस in that arena. And product managers, I mean, मतलब समझ में नहीं आता कि कैसे navigate करना है, रैपो बनाना कैसे है, तो how to navigate that?
टफ है, पर उतना भी टफ नहीं है, ठीक है. And I'll tell you why. And see, basically क्या होता है ना, as a product manager, you are right, you will deal with lot of experts. बाकी एरिया में उतना नहीं होता है ना. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई एम अ डेवलपर, मे बी आई डील विद माई टेक लीड, आई डील विद माई आर्किटेक्ट, राइट? दैट्स ऑल. एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, यू आर डीलिंग विद एक्सपर्ट्स इन टेक्नोलॉजी. एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, यू आर डीलिंग विद एक्सपर्ट्स इन सेल्स, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, राइट? सबसे सिंपल है, राइट? इन जनरल, what you need to do is you need to see where can you add some value? If you are talking to a salesperson, obviously उसको sales में ज़्यादा पता है तभी वो वहाँ पर है, but he probably doesn't know a lot about product and technology.
Correct.
वो खेलना पड़ता है आपको. You have to tell him about something that he doesn't know. Similarly, जब आप इंजीनियर और आर्किटेक्ट से बात करते हो, obviously that's their area, their domain. You can't really challenge them कि ये framework क्यों है, वो framework क्यों है. You can only ask some questions, but give them insights about what customers are thinking. Give them insights from what you learned from your last sales call, where you were very passive, but at least you were listening what other sales folks were saying. So try to create value by giving somebody that the person doesn't have or doesn't get easily. तभी होगा. Designer, ठीक है, designer will come up with a lot of interesting things, but what you can tell him or her is that, hey, I think this solution is great or design is great, but based on the input that my help desk team has provided to me, this is one area in the workflow where they struggle the most. Now I know you are the expert in it. Can you just simplify it a bit?
This is why people call product manager bridging a gap between.
Yes, you have to bridge the gap, and also you have to deal with this imposter syndrome day in and day out, right? But the easiest way to deal with this is think about where can you add some value, give credit to others, and make them part of that conversation. ऐसा नहीं कि जाके बोल दिया है डिजाइनर ऐसा करो, ऐसा कोई नहीं करता, right? Nobody will ever do it.
मतलब in early phases I have done that. I've sat with the designer and just asked him कि भाई ये screen यहाँ से वहाँ डाल, ये screen यहाँ से वहाँ.
You have to give them importance. बोलना पड़ता है किसी, I know you are the best, and that's his job. You are not there to do his or her job as a designer. Give them the due credit, make them part of that conversation, give them extra insights. I'm sure they will appreciate you. And that's how you have to build the rapport. Plus, another thing is, as a product manager, your interpersonal skills are important.
Correct.
Right? No matter how you are as a person, you have to work on your communication skills. You have to work on the skill where how easily or how fast you can break the ice.
Yeah.
नहीं तो बहुत tough है, right? Customer के साथ में, if you are getting 1 hour and you are taking 30-40 minutes just to kind of break the ice, वो नहीं होगा ना. You lost that time. Correct. So you have to work on your interpersonal skills. Join Toastmasters or join anything where you feel you can go and you can work on some of these skills. Sometimes you have to talk on the fly. क्या बात करोगे, कैसे बात करोगे? उसके लिए again couple of ideas. As I said, Toastmasters, join it. Second is you know what to talk and how to talk. पर उसके लिए context होना चाहिए ना. And that context you will get only when you read. सबको मेरा एक सिंसियर एडवाइस यही रहता है एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर, रीड. डोंट ट्राई टू काइंड ऑफ कीप योर नॉलेज स्पेसिफिक टू वन एरिया. हाँ ठीक है, वो आपको बहुत ज़रूरी है. यू हैव टू हैव दैट एक्सपर्टीज, बट रीड एज मच एज यू कैन. एंड व्हेन आई से रीड, ट्राई टू रीड क्या हो रहा है इंडस्ट्री में. ट्राई टू रीड अबाउट सर्टेन फिक्शन, नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं, राइट? यू हैव टू रीड नॉन फिक्शन थिंग्स. देयर आर सो मैनी बुक्स. मेरा फेवरेट हॉबी क्या है? मेरा अमेजोन में मेरे एक विश लिस्ट है बुक्स का. मेरा फेवरेट हॉबी है कि उस विश लिस्ट में मैं कहाँ से बुक्स ढूंढ कर डालूं सो दैट आई कैन जस्ट रीड देम.
तो you are an avid reader.
Yes, and see, ये हैबिट बचपन से नहीं था मेरा, right? But you have to develop this habit because I realize that as you start reading, you will have some input, some context about certain things which are needed for you to. One is obviously it will broaden your way of thinking, your way of learning. लोगों के साथ बात करने में भी बहुत अच्छा, इंटरेक्शन करने में भी it will really help you. तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी है. So you have to build that reading habit. और उसमें भी मैं सजेस्ट करूँगा ऑर्डर फिजिकल बुक्स. बैठ के जो पढ़ने में है ना, डिजिटल में you'll get 10-15 distractions every minute. बुक लेके पढ़ो and read those books and then you can apply those learnings.
A lot of that made sense कि जो आपने बताया challenges क्या क्या होते हैं, what you face as a DOP, a lot of influencing is required over there, how product managers should build a rapport, or even how product managers should start their initial days in a company, right? I want to touch down upon very specific problems as well that you have faced. So it happens so often that not ki as a PM you try to like एक कुछ तो आप MVPs डेवलप करते जाओ, right? आप डेवलप कर रहे हो, आप टेस्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो. It has moved to a point where you have already put a lot of effort, right? अब आप इससे हटोगे तो आपका मतलब जाएगा, रिसोर्स जाएगा, आपको जस्टिफिकेशन देना पड़ेगा. So you still keep going, right? What do you think is the best way कि बेसिकली मैंने इतना टाइम भरा, सन कॉस्ट फैलेसी, राइट, कि इतना मैंने टाइम इन्वेस्ट कर दिया है, अब मैं आई कांट गिव अप ऑन दिस आइडिया, आई कांट एक्सपेरिमेंट ऑन एनी अदर थिंग, आई हैव टू जस्टिफाई दिस आइडिया व्हाट आई हैव डन एज वेल, राइट? हैव यू एवर बीन इन दिस सच सिचुएशंस?
या होता है, राइट? Pareto principle, right? There will be 20% of your features which 80% of your customers will always use. बाकी का जो 80% है लोग नहीं यूज करेंगे. इनफैक्ट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल ने एक सर्वे किया था इन 2003-2004 एंड दे आस्क्ड पीपल कि भाई माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल में क्या क्या फीचर चाहिए आपको. मोर देन हाफ ऑफ दोज सबमिशंस वर अबाउट फीचर्स विच वर ऑलरेडी देयर इन माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एक्सेल, बट पीपल डिड नॉट नो. तो वो भी एक चीज होता है, राइट? यू हैव टू मेक श्योर कि वॉट एवर यू आर बिल्डिंग, are your customers able to discover that feature or do they really know how to even use it? तो जैसे कि now to answer your question, कई बार ऐसा होता है जहाँ पे you have built something and you are not getting that enough traction. You have only two options, pivot or continue working on it, as you said, sunk cost. But more than that, what you should try to do is you should talk to your customers and just understand कि I have not seen you using this feature for last 7 days. What do you think is the reason?
Is it that straightforward? You can go and ask a customer if they're using this.
Yes. So what you need to do is, again, same thing. If you have your customer advisory board, you can show them the feature, paint the picture that how this feature is very useful, how this feature will add lot of value, and then say, but I have not really seen any one of you using it that effectively. They'll give you some input. They'll say, oh, maybe I did not know about this feature. वो एक चीज होता है. दूसरा चीज होता है जहां पे यू हैव टू स्टार्ट यूजिंग डेटा मोर एंड मोर, देन सी दैट व्हाई पीपल आर नॉट यूजिंग दिस फीचर, व्हाई पीपल आर नॉट इवन क्लिकिंग दैट बटन, व्हाई पीपल आर नॉट यूजिंग दिस स्पेसिफिक एलिमेंट इन माई API. You have to use data. Most of the times what happens is data will at least tell you in somewhat high level clarity or somewhat high level understanding that people are using your solutions, your products in very specific way for a very specific job. Then you need to really create that need. You have to either show that feature upfront or you have to partner with them. So वो बहुत common है, होता है. And then क्या होता है ना, most of the times it's like अगर imagine you are on a hill and then it's dark, it's foggy and you want to go to the top of that hill. तो क्या करोगे? You can't really see anything. Only thing is that you'll take some steps and see कि whether you are going uphill or downhill. Uphill जा रहे हो तो continue करोगे, downhill जा रहे हो तो you'll change your direction, right? Correct. तो features के साथ वही होता है, right? So you have to decide कि whether you're going uphill or downhill. Sometimes you reach to this state of local maxima where you feel, boss, इसके ऊपर I won't get any traction. Then it's okay. You stop and pick up something new. So forget about sunk cost. Right? You just need to see what is best for you, what is best for your product. But yes, getting clarity and seeking feedback from customer will definitely help you in terms of why they are not using this feature or this MVP that you have built and how can you change it drastically.
There can be phases as well, right? Like आपने जो साल भर पहले फीचर बनाया था, that was relevant at that time, so a lot of customers were using.
Yes.
Now they're not using it because some other tech has come or people have changed the notion of how it is being used.
कई बार उल्टा भी होता है. Imagine 2019, you are one of the product managers for Zoom. ठीक ठाक business चल रहा है, people are using Zoom. Now suddenly boom, everybody is using Zoom and you never thought about virtual backgrounds. क्योंकि पहले Zoom घर पे कौन यूज करता था, right? Now suddenly बिल्कुल डिफरेंट हो गया. सो समटाइम्स यू विल बी इन अ सिचुएशन वेयर पीपल आर यूजिंग योर प्रोडक्ट एंड
किसी ने एक फीचर बनाया होगा फालतू सा कि भाई वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड चेंज कर लेना अपना फन के लिए,
पर सडनली दैट इज योर द मोस्ट वाइडली यूज्ड फीचर. तो कई बार ऐसे होता है, राइट? समटाइम्स थिंग्स आर नॉट डायरेक्टली अंडर योर कंट्रोल बट दे मे चेंज द एंटायर value proposition of your product.
Correct. So let's say so I want to, since you're coming from the travel tech background, right, I want to touch upon cases like for a business, and since you are also involved a lot in decision making for what goes in product and whatnot, and considering that a lot of product companies rely their revenue on this specific product, right? For travel tech companies, COVID में बहुत ज़्यादा crash आया था, right? No one was traveling, right? Everyone was at home. A lot of people know stories about companies like Airbnb. Right?
Yeah.
Lost a lot of revenue, traction as well. How did you survive?
Sure. A great question. See, mainly one is because when you are in enterprise kind of space, you already have large enterprises. In B2C, yes, it was very difficult, right? For companies like Airbnb, it was very difficult because if you don't have direct customers, how will you survive? In companies like Sabre, since we are in enterprise, we had other customers, multi-year contract, multi-year deal. So somehow we were able to survive. But what we did, sometime when you get some downtime, you can use that downtime to think about what's next. What can I do differently? For example, I remember when COVID came and then we were not really sure what to do, but people were still traveling. But again, that travel was somewhat limited. But people were more conscious in terms of cleanliness, hygiene. Nobody used to ask about hygiene and cleanliness pre-COVID. So what we decided that, hey, just stop everything else that you are doing. And people are not going to travel a lot. It's okay if you deprioritize something else. Think about how will you solve this problem. So what we did, we came up with this idea where we said, simple MVP in enterprise. We said, hey, hotels, tell us how are you making sure that whoever is coming and staying will get at least some confidence. And there were a lot of industry bodies with different certification guidelines. So hotels told us that, yes, I am following this guideline and that's how I am cleaning my hotel room, and I have car rental also. Car rental companies were saying, oh, we use this, we use that to make sure it's clean, it's hygienic, and so on and so forth. We built very simple manual MVP. We collected this data manually from all the hotels, from all the car rental companies, simple update in database, and we started returning it as one of the amenities. For example, hotels mein, if you search, you will look for amenities like free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, so on and so forth. But we started showing this as the top amenity.
Got it. I can relate with this statement because हुआ ये travel करते time I have also searched for BNBs and OYOs, right? और OYOs पे एक filter उन्होंने सामने दे दिया था कि भाई give me sanitized rooms.
Yes.
And I would quickly click on that because that COVID time पे मैं travel कर रहा था.
Yes.
I would, even if there was a cheaper option present, right? I would still choose the one which had the tag.
Absolutely.
बस tag लिखा है उसमें.
Yeah. And we built this feature in 15 days. So this is one of those examples where it's okay to have this somewhat manual approach, but that was something which was needed. So we did lot of innovation because obviously travel was not really at its peak during those COVID time.
But you got a time to rethink about entire system. Apart from traveling, what does within that journey, what does matter to the user mostly?
Yes.
That point of time, cleanliness was one of the factors.
Yes. So that's what you have to do. As a product manager, you have to have that vision कि future में क्या होगा without any crystal ball. Right? नहीं तो क्या होगा कि you will build something only as a kind of very reactive way. You have to be proactive. You have to predict कि what's next, and then you need to serve your customers. क्योंकि जो हम बोलते हैं ना aha moments.
So what is the difference between how do you think being reactive as a product manager is bad than being proactive?
Sure. क्योंकि see, दोनों चीज होना चाहिए. See, sometimes you react because you don't really have enough data points, and that's not really bad. It's okay.
या किसी customer ने गाली दे दी.
हाँ, exactly, right? So you have to do something. वो भी ठीक है. But see, proactiveness is needed because same thing. Customers will not tell you कि कुछ नया बनाओ. See, उनके लिए they are getting their job done. B2C में होता है ना, B2C में customer demand करते हैं वो I need better performance, I need better UI. Enterprise में ऐसा नहीं होता है. कितने एंटरप्राइज टूल, आई एम श्योर यू मस्ट हैव यूज सम एंटरप्राइज टूल जो कि बहुत ही मतलब डिफिकल्ट है यूज करने में. क्यों? बिकॉज एंटरप्राइज में योर कोर फोकस ही की फंक्शनैलिटी, काम होना चाहिए. नोबडी केयर्स अबाउट डिजाइन, नोबडी केयर्स अबाउट यूआई एंड सो ऑन. अभी व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज, राइट, यू हैव टू ऑल्सो थिंक अबाउट फ्यूचर because there are so many things which are happening in industry. Let's say in travel, I'll give one example where sustainability. It was not really a big thing until a few years ago. Now sustainability is the big thing. In Europe and other countries and other regions, they are making sure that your travel is sustainable. There is a new law in Europe where if your travel time is less than 4 hours, you have to take rail. You cannot fly by flight.
Oh, is it so? The government is also enforcing,
Yes,
or is it the mentality
no,
of
government.
citizen?
So government is enforcing this. So in few years, this will become one of the guidelines. Now, what are you going to do? How will you be prepared for this kind of scenario? You have to then think, how can I make my content accessible by following these guidelines? You have to do it. I know one of my friends, he works for fintech. He's in this securities and bond kind of domain. They make solutions for this industry. He reads that SEBI's guideline 250 pages every few weeks. He has to. So that's what you have to do. You have to think, what's next? How can I improve it? How can I make it better?
There is the kind of secondary research that you were talking about that you have
Absolutely.
to do all the time.
Absolutely.
So do you think product manager's job is more proactive than reactive?
It is, yes. You will react in certain situation. एक defect आ गया production में and then या फिर एक P0 incident आ गया, you will react to it. You will stop everything, you react to it. But you have to be very proactive. And some of these proactiveness will really help you in terms of building your product strategy. Right? Again, another example.
Strategy is all about being proactive.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You cannot build strategy which is reactive.
Yeah.
But you also need to think about क्या चेंज हो रहा है मार्केट में, कस्टमर्स का बिहेवियर क्या चेंज हो रहा है. ओके, एक इंटरेस्टिंग एग्जांपल देता हूँ. लेट्स से कोडैक, राइट. सब लोग कोडैक का बोलते हैं. वो कोडैक को पता नहीं था कि डिजिटल, ऐसा नहीं है. कोडैक न्यू दैट पीपल विल यूज डिजिटल फोटोग्राफी. दे वर पायनियर्स इन दैट डोमेन. दे ऑलरेडी बिल्ड दैट डिजिटल कैमरा. पर उनको ये नहीं पता था कि कस्टमर्स का बिहेवियर चेंज हो जाएगा. दे थॉट पीपल विल यूज डिजिटल कैमरास टू टेक पिक्चर्स, बट दे स्टिल कम टू कोडैक शॉप्स for printouts. Now tell me, last photo, किसी फोटो का प्रिंट आउट कब लिया था?
मतलब मेरे पास तो एक वो फ्यूजी फिल्म का वो रखा हुआ है.
पर वैसे भी इन जनरल मैं तो नहीं गया, राइट, रिसेंटली लास्ट 10-15 years. They did not anticipate change in the consumers behavior की लोगों के लिए फोटोग्राफ अब वो नहीं कि मेमोरी है और वॉल पे लगा रहे हैं, राइट. सो दैट वाज बिहेवियर शिफ्ट. दे न्यू अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजिकल शिफ्ट कि लोग यूज करेंगे, पर दे वर लाइक ठीक है, पीपल विल स्टिल कम टू माई शॉप, सो लेट मी इन्वेस्ट मोर इन बिल्डिंग माई एंटायर पाइपलाइन ऑफ डिजिटल फोटोग्राफी मोर एफिशिएंट. बट प्रिंट आउट लेने नहीं आ रहे हैं लोग, तो आप क्या करोगे? सो यू ऑल्सो हैव टू थिंक अबाउट फ्यूचर इन टर्म्स ऑफ कंज्यूमर का बिहेवियर भी चेंज होता है. इट्स नॉट जस्ट मार्केट और टेक्नोलॉजी.
Correct. Makes sense. So you have to stay all the time ready and updated about what's happening in the market.
Yes.
So now you are a part of a big enterprise. You have had multiple experiences in product management. Any problem that you feel in travel tech that should be solved immediately if you were to start something on your own?
Sure. I think problem भी है और I think वो trend भी होगा future में कि how to hyper personalize your travel. ठीक है. I'll give one example जहाँ पे अभी भी क्या होता है ना, as a product manager we do lot of segmentation, but segmentation is still very generic in my opinion. Demographic करेंगे, geographic करेंगे, psychographic करेंगे, but see, imagine, I'll give couple of examples. You do lot of behavior based segmentation. Okay, so in travel if I have to do it, I'll create those different cohort कि ये cohort they prefer budget hotels, ये cohort they prefer luxury hotels. पर ऐसा नहीं है, राइट. इफ आई एम ट्रैवलिंग विद माई फैमिली, मे बी मुझे लग्जरी होटल पसंद आएगा, बट इफ आई एम ट्रैवलिंग विद माई फ्रेंड्स आई विल प्रोबब्ली गो एट विद बजट होटल्स. सेम पर्सन. सो इफ यू जस्ट काइंड ऑफ कैटेगराइज मी इन वन कोहोर्ट, यू आर नॉट पर्सनलाइजिंग इट. एक और एग्जांपल देता हूँ, डेमोग्राफिक सेगमेंटेशन. क्या बोलता है डेमोग्राफिक सेगमेंटेशन? दैट लुक एट पर्सन्स इनकम, लुक एट पर्सन्स सिटी, प्लेस, एटसेट्रा, राइट, एज, एजुकेशन. इमेजिन there are two friends from the same college, same education, same company में job करते हैं. One of them is married, another one is bachelor. Demographic segmentation के हिसाब से they are part of the same cohort, but you can't offer them the same thing. One person has, let's say, a family with a young kid. Another person doesn't have family, he's a bachelor. Change हो गया, right? So you have to do hyper personalization by going beyond your obvious segmentation. Look at, and this is what the next trend is. लास्ट वीडियो कैसा देखा था उसने, what kind of post that person likes, what kind of photos he or she shares on his social media, to understand कि that person's behavior plus that person's behavioral context at that given time. So these more of hyper personalization by looking at context will become more mainstream. अब इसमें challenge क्या आता है, right? Now suddenly you are talking about lot of different sources of data, lot of different channel, lot of different touch points. कितने touch point होते हैं, right? There are several touch points. You have to collect this data, which is fine. You can collect it, you can store it. आज के time में storage का क्या है? It's very cheap. But then you have to make sure that you are collecting that data ethically. You have to follow all these GDPR and other policies and regulations. You need to tell the customers upfront कि boss, आपका ये सारा data मेरे पास में है. Are you comfortable with it? Because they also have this entire authority to request you to delete their data. How will you use this data effectively, and how will you give somewhat kind of control to your actual users so that they know what you are collecting or what you are collecting and how you are using it? That is going to be the biggest challenge and probably the next trend in my opinion.
Amazing. तो basically हर बंदे का एक start कि how is he?
Yes.
Right, and based on that potentially provide him a product. Right?
Yeah, क्योंकि mood भी change होता है, right? Suddenly there is a new trend in Bangalore and I would like you to offer me what is the latest trend. वो सब कैसे? You have to keep up to date your product, your offerings, and you have to build that intelligence.
Makes sense. Got it. Those are a lot of insights, right? Lekin one question that I've always wondered, right? I mean, you as a DOP, you have seen product managers come and go in your company in your past. You might have hired a lot of people, right? Let go of some people. मतलब so क्योंकि product management is a role where you can't quantify the outcome. जैसे डेवलपर का काफी सही है कि इतने लाइन ऑफ कोड लिखे, इतने APIs बनाए,
इतना स्टोरीज फिनिश किए, इतने डिफेक्ट्स क्लोज किए,
डिजाइनर का पक्का इतने स्क्रीन्स बनाई, राइट. यहाँ पे कुछ क्वांटिफिकेशन प्रॉब्लम रहती है. तो लाइक इफ द ऑडियंस बेसिकली वुड वांट टू नो कि ऐसे कौन से आपने पैटर्न्स देखे हैं जो यंग प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स आए हैं, दे हैव बीन स्काईरॉकेट इन देयर करियर, राइट? व्हाट डिड दे डू, राइट? और ऐसे भी कुछ लोग आए होंगे जो हु वर लाइक फेक इट टिल यू मेक इट, राइट? उन्होंने क्या किया ऐसा कि इट नेवर वर्क्स आउट?
Great question. Sure. So there is a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. ठीक है, वो मुझे लगता है किसी भी स्पोर्ट्स में होगा, पर उस बुक में स्पेशली ऑथर क्या बोलता है ना कि there are always two types of games that you play when you are on the pitch. एक हो आउटर गेम, एक होगा आपका इनर गेम. आउटर गेम मीन्स जो टेनिस है, राइट, या फिर जो क्रिकेट में आप शॉट्स खेलते हो. इनर गेम इज वेयर यू रियली वर्क ऑन योर एंजाइटी, यू रियली वर्क ऑन इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम, हमने बात किया था, राइट? तो जो अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स होते हैं ना, व्हाट आई फील इज दे रियली नो हाउ टू इम्प्रूव देयर इनर गेम. ओके, सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल दे बिलीव इन शोइंग देयर क्रेडिबिलिटी. अब क्रेडिबिलिटी कैसे दिखाओगे, राइट? यू विल शो योर क्रेडिबिलिटी ओनली व्हेन यू आर कंसिस्टेंट. You deliver something consistently every week, every month, every day. उससे क्या होता है, once you are showing your credibility and people really believe in you, उसका एक फायदा क्या होता है जो अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स करते हैं, they start getting involved in lot of high impact features, high impact work. तो credibility, consistency आपको दिखानी पड़ेगी, but how will you demonstrate it? By not just doing whatever is assigned to you. Always try to go slightly above and beyond, जितना possible है, right? For example, जैसे कि you have received a feature, specific feature, right? Don't just look at that feature from that feature's delivery point of view. Pressure रहेगा, timeline challenges रहेगा, सब रहेगा. Correct. But can you also show me कि मैंने research किया and then I realized कि something similar is already there offered by XYZ competitor, या फिर किसी और इंडस्ट्री से. So try to bring in that extra whatever you are trying to do. Opinion on whatever. Yeah. So don't always just follow the instructions. That's number one, because you are a product manager. You have a lot of responsibility. So that's number one. Second is once you build your consistently and credibility, next step is you'll be part of lot of high impact project. High impact में stakes भी बहुत high होते हैं. Okay, so that has its own set of challenges. But what you can really do is you can make sure as a good product manager you are keeping everybody informed. you are aware of the consequences, and then third is you also need to make sure that you are not just delivering it, you are also owning it end to end. ओनरशिप बहुत ज़रूरी है. एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर ऐसा नहीं है कि जस्ट मैंने डेव टीम के साथ काम किया एंड शिप कर दिया. You will then never go to that next level. You have to own it. By owning, I mean work with your marketing, work with your sales team, just to understand how can you package that feature, package that specific capability or functionality in a better way. ज़्यादातर टाइम क्या होगा, if you are a new product manager, maybe you won't really have that influence, which is fine, but at least you are showing your commitment. तो वही डिफरेंस होता है. जो अच्छे प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर होते हैं वो दे आर कंसिस्टेंट, दे हैव देयर क्रेडिबिलिटी, दे वर्क ऑन हाई इम्पैक्ट हाई वैल्यू प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड दे ओन थिंग्स एंड टू एंड. वो करना बहुत ज़रूरी है एंड दैट्स अ डिफरेंस. जहाँ पे और थोड़े प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स होते हैं हु नो लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स बट दे ओनली टॉक. तो मेरे हिसाब से अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर वही है जो एग्जीक्यूट कर सकता है एंड देन ओन करता है एंड टू एंड.
तो अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर फ्रॉम द एंगल ऑफ कि अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर तो या फिर यू नो सो आई मीन देयर इज समवन हु इज गुड एट देयर जॉब.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Then they step up the ladder.
Yes.
Right. There's someone who is just who's exceptional, right? They just don't look in the circle of their job, but they
Yes.
look beyond.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Exactly.
you meaning that या फिर just the person who does their job?
No, so if you just do your job, then obviously you won't be exceptional because that is expected from you. That's why we hired you.
Yeah.
But if you can really do that extra piece, that's when you become from good to somewhat exceptional product manager.
Got it.
अब इन सब चीज़ों के लिए you have to work on an inner game, right? जो मैं पहले बोला था. Inner game के लिए क्या होगा? You have to spend lot of your personal time. You have to spend lot of time going through videos. You have to spend lot of time reading books, articles. करना बहुत ज़रूरी है because otherwise your inner game will not improve. So जैसा sports में होता है, you have to do it. And once it is part of your habit, then you can easily find opportunities. लोग वेट करते हैं कि देयर शुड बी समबडी हु इज विलिंग टू गो अबव एंड बियॉन्ड. कोई आपको बोलेगा नहीं इन प्रोफेशनल सेटिंग.
Do you think that is rare or that is like आजकल हर कोई
No, it's rare. I don't think कि हर कोई करता है, right? There will be only selected.
And as a manager, do you appreciate it? Like appreciate in terms of कि हाँ मतलब promotions दे देंगे तुमको, ये कर देंगे, वो कर देंगे.
See, I think it depends. But हाँ, obviously I like people who are willing to stretch, who are willing to go above and beyond. अब मैं stretch बोल रहा हूँ, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा कि 20 घंटे काम करो, वो नहीं, right? You work, but still you can add lot of value. अब वो जो value है is very subjective, right? So you also need to see कि उस context में क्या valuable है for my company, for my product, for my team, my leadership. वैसा करके you have to also be very smart.
मतलब एक बंदा है, उसके पास एक फीचर है, बस वो दिन भर मतलब आधा टाइम वेस्ट कर रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, ऑफिस में उतनी देर बैठा है, दिन में इतना डॉक्यूमेंट खत्म किया, घर चला गया.
हाँ, तो
while someone is उसने उस पे काम करके he like went ahead and took feedback from multiple teams, right? और उसके बाद कुछ और नए कौन से प्रोजेक्ट्स आ रहे हैं, something like that. So being more upfront about knowing about what is going on in the company, outside of the company, in the market, with the customers, everything in and out.
Absolutely. And learn about technologies, right? सबसे कॉमन क्वेश्चन प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट में होता है, मैं टेक्निकल नहीं हूँ, क्या मैं प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर बन सकता हूँ? ऑफ कोर्स, राइट? यू आर going to be the product manager, right? But you should know the concepts. Data scientist नहीं बनना है आपको, but at least you should know how to play with the data, right? आपको ये नहीं समझना है कि रैंडम फॉरेस्ट कैसे काम करता है, पर what is random forest? वो तो आप सीख ही सकते हो, right? That's not really rocket science. Similarly, if I have some data that I need to present as a product manager, I need to understand how to package that data better. तो ये सारी चीजें तो आप कर ही सकते हो, right? So you have to be technical as far as basic concepts are concerned. Otherwise क्या होगा, आप एक product तो बना दोगे, but that product will not be scalable. तो लोग क्या करते हैं, ये सोचते हैं आई हैव टू बिकम डेटा साइंटिस्ट. उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. यू विल गेट डेटा साइंटिस्ट.
बेसिकली बीइंग योर एंकर, बीइंग द कस्टमर, आप कस्टमर को पर्सपेक्टिव में रख के बेस्ट इनपुट आपको पीएम दे सकता है. एग्जैक्टली. टू द डिजाइनर, डेवलपर, मार्केटिंग वाला जो भी है, राइट? एंड देन यू डोंट नीड टू एक्चुअली एक्वायर दो स्किल्स कि मुझे कोडिंग आनी चाहिए टू डू द बेस्ट.
अगर आती है तो बहुत अच्छा, नहीं भी आती तो इट्स फाइन. ओनली थिंग इज यू शुड हैव दैट एक्यूमेन to ask the right questions.
Got it. So as a product manager, so I have moved from phases का जहाँ पे मेरा work life balance कहीं पे बहुत ज़्यादा screwed up रहा है, कहीं पे बहुत अच्छा हो गया है.
Sure.
Right. Fortunately now I have much more control over my life, but I'm still in my like mid-20s, right? Still work-life balance, it has been always a question of how much is enough, how much, where do I say no, right? And you're never able to judge. Right?
Yeah.
So, and you have been in this game since past 20 years. And you look quite young yourself.
I'll take it as a compliment. Yes,
yeah, that is a true compliment.
Sure.
But how do you look at it? Ki bhai, since you have people working under you, आपने भी एक angle दिया कि भाई 20 घंटे भी काम नहीं करना है, ऐसा जरूरी काम करना है. So what is your perspective on that?
See, it's very tricky, Shivam. I don't know what work-life balance is. I don't know, or I don't think anybody can define it. आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो कि 16 घंटे काम किया and then 8 घंटे नहीं किया, then that's the perfect balance, right? It depends on a lot of things. कई बार, if your work is something which you really enjoy, you don't really care about whether I'm working 10 hours or 12 hours. As long as you are enjoying, I believe it's okay. But yes, you have to set clear boundaries. उसके लिए क्या करना होगा? You have to be very disciplined. Right? You have to make sure that you are spending time on doing certain things which you like the most as far as your work is concerned, but then you also need to take care about your personal health. If you're not really healthy, obviously you won't be creative enough. If you're not really creative, अभी हमने बात किया कि how to become exceptional product manager, आप वो नहीं कर पाओगे because you won't really have that energy. So that's different thing. Work as much as you can. Okay, don't stress too much. As long as you're taking care of your health and then you're spending time, I think it's fine. It's okay to enjoy what you are doing. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि ठीक है, work is not challenging. That's fine because not everybody will work on something which is very cool. वहाँ पे भी you will have some opportunity. ठीक है, if my work is not really challenging or if my work is not really cool, it's okay. Then let me brush up some of my skills. Let me be prepared for that next immediate opportunity which will come my way, and I have to be 100% ready for it. So use that time. So work-life balance is very tricky. I don't know how to find that perfect balance. But as long as you are fine, you are clear what you are doing, why you are doing, I think it's okay. But take care of your health is what I feel is the most important thing.
Got it. And what do you do yourself to taking care of your health?
See, what I do is at least I make sure that morning is my time, right? 7:30 to 9:30 is I will go, I'll work out, right? I take care of my diet very well. And at least when I'm in the gym, I don't even look at my phone. नहीं तो फिर क्या है? Because half of the time, anyhow, you'll be looking at your phone.
Yeah.
I don't check my emails when I'm working out. I just keep my phone, but I just keep it aside. नहीं तो क्या होगा? Same thing. You are in the gym, but then you are not focused.
Yeah.
But if you are focused when you are working out, then you'll be focused when you're working as well, in front of your laptop, in front of your friends or in front of your colleagues. So मैं क्या करता हूँ? Generally, I make sure that I'm working out as much as I can. 10,000 steps तो करना ही चाहिए सबको. So you will find time, right? 10,000 step में कितना time लगता है, right? If you walk every few hours, you can easily achieve it. And third is you have to take care of your diet, which I feel is something that generally people don't really do very often. You have to be very careful what you are eating, why you are eating, is it really needed? वो सब करोगे, then I'm sure you can be more energized. And without energy, obviously, you can't really run, you can't really manage different things. So workout करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, पर उससे ज़्यादा important है diet. क्या खाना है, क्या नहीं खाना है, that's probably the key.
Got it. Sure. So, I mean, we covered a lot of pieces here and there, right? Your early journey, how you came into this product management space, and your thoughts about the whole leadership and product managers, how they level up, etc. So we are coming to the closure of the whole conversation. There's few short questions I would want you to answer, right? I'll throw very short questions at you. You can throw very short answers at me, right? I'll keep it very minimal, 4 or 5 questions.
Sure.
Right. So my first question is, what are the top 3 things that you did due to which you are here?
I
Here
would-
in the sense, not here in the podcast.
Okay. Okay. No, I get it. Okay. One is reading, right? Second is your interpersonal skills. So reading, communication skills, and third is building rapport. Building rapport is not really bad thing. You have to build rapport within your peers, with your leadership. So these are three things which I really feel have really helped me. अगर मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि मैं बहुत कुछ ऊपर लेवल पे हूँ and then I have achieved whatever I wanted to achieve. But these three things for sure really helped me to reach where I am now.
Got it. Right. Second question. Right. What should a product manager do so that they get fired?
So that they get
They
fired?
get fired.
ऑफिस नहीं जाओगे, काम नहीं करोगे तो ऑब्वियसली फायर हो जाओगे. बट सी व्हाट आई फील इज दैट मोर देन दैट यू शुड नॉट हैव दैट फियर ऑफ फेलियर, राइट? सी आपने प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च किया, प्रोडक्ट फेल हो गया, फायर हो गया, तो क्या एटलीस्ट यू डिड योर बेस्ट. सो दैट फियर ऑफ फेलियर शुड नॉट बी देयर. बिकॉज क्या होता है जब आपका फियर ऑफ फेलियर होता है, देन यू आर पुटिंग सो मैनी एडिशनल कंस्ट्रेंट्स. तो मेरा एडवाइस यही है कि एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर डोंट हैव दैट फियर ऑफ फेलियर. It's okay to take risk, but one thing is obviously choose your bets wisely. But it's fine. I think this is part and parcel of your life, firing and hiring. But yes, take more risk, be prepared for consequences, and that's all about it.
Got it. Top 2 things that you have learned from your junior PMs.
Yeah, okay. One is definitely challenging others. Okay, so I generally come from that generation where we don't really challenge our leaders too much. But what I have seen, some of the young PMs and some of the junior PMs or people who are relatively younger than me, they don't hesitate when they have to challenge their leaders. So that's one thing I have really learned.
As long as their opinion is researched.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just simply go and randomly challenge ki, kya hai, kya. Obviously, if they are right, they don't really hesitate too much. Whereas what my generation or generally I used to do was just polish it, package it in a way, right? So that's one thing. And second is somewhat related, somewhat similar to it, where you're not challenging, but you are making sure that you are keeping your thoughts upfront in terms of making sure that people are really clear that you are not really okay with certain things. So these are certain things which I have learned, and some of these young PMs that I have seen in the last few years, they do these things very well.
Amazing. Got it. 4th question. 3 things that you regret not doing in your 30s.
In my 30s? Okay, great question. Again, I don't know if I really regret, but maybe couple of things that I really regret, that I believe high education is really important. Okay, and when I say high education, I mean high education which is full time. Okay, so full time high education, किसी एक institute में जाके when you go and see, it's not that you leave everything and then you go, but still I think higher education from a premier institute full time is really needed after you have 10 or 8 years of work experience.
8 years of work experience.
Yes, because then you can really decide what you want to do in your career. By then you are clear. For the first 5, 6, 8 years, you are still exploring. So that's one thing I always believe that I should have done. Studying full time. Okay, there is no alternative to it. Second is I always wanted to, or I still want to write. Okay, so this writing habit I started very late. I feel now, or I wish that I should have started it way back, because when you write, it also helps you in communicating your thoughts clearly. And then you also have very structured way of telling your things. So 2 things. One is higher education full time. And second is writing and reading habit. I feel I should have started probably slightly early.
No third?
No third. I think I'm fine where I am. Sure. So only
Got
2.
it. Last question. Any startup idea that you had thought in your whole career that you had to throw in the dustbin?
Yeah, for example, when I read this Lean Startup by Eric Ries, right, it used to be a craze at some point in time. I had this startup idea where there should be a platform for startup founders who don't really have access to VCs to just go to this marketplace and find the VCs and then get their inputs and ideas. But only challenge I found out, and I couldn't figure it out, that how can you keep these ideas confidential, because every idea is unique, right? So that part I couldn't figure out, and we had to literally throw into dustbin. But yes, I really wanted to build marketplace for startups to get feedback, get opinion on their ideas, how to.
I think there already exists a couple of products.
Yes. Now there are, obviously, but that was one of my ideas way back then.
Amazing. All right. So that completes our whole conversation. Anything that you wanted to say as a closing note?
No, I had good fun, and I think that people who are going to watch this, they see value in it. And just to conclude my thoughts, I will say, doesn't matter whether you are aspiring product manager, even if you are working professional, right? Your fundamental things won't really change too much, irrespective of your role. Try to think about something which you feel is highly satisfying for you. Within your company, within your project, try to find something which is high impact, high value, and learn as much as you can. With that, I think we are done.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sushant, for coming today.
Sure.
Thank you so much, everyone.